In order for your body to form a clot, it is actually a very complex process. There are a lot of factors that go into this process, and this is condensed into something called the clotting cascade. This video is an attempt to help you simplify the clotting cascade, and we're just going to get started. There are 3 main pathways within your clotting cascade. As you can see, I've written it here for you. You've got the intrinsic pathway, the extrinsic pathway, and the common pathway. The reason why this is called a cascade is because one factor is going to activate the next, and these are all going to have what they consider a trickle effect upon the next factor within that said cascade. We are going to start by looking at the intrinsic pathway. This pathway is started with the activation of collagen. The first factor to be activated is factor 12. Next is 11. Then 9 and 8. To help you remember the intrinsic pathway, there is a little short saying that's very helpful. You can look at the number 12 if you can remember that's where it starts. You can tell yourself that you have an object that is $12 for purchase, but it's on sale for $11.98. Something that is also crucial to remember is that for the clotting cascade, these are typically written in Roman numerals, so it's important to be able to recognize those. I'm going to write them here for you. Okay, next we're going to look at the extrinsic pathway. This is going to start with factor 3. And then factor 7. Again, this is all a trickling effect. So 12 is going to activate 11. 11 will activate 9. 9 will activate 8. 3 will activate 7. And then these together, at the end, they meet in the middle at what is called the common pathway. The common pathway begins at number 10. The number 10 in Roman numerals is also written as an X. So they like to say that X marks the spot for the common pathway. One thing that helps me remember this is that 3 plus 7 equals 10. And that's how I remember that the common pathway starts at 10. After 10, you have 5, then 2, then 1. A way to remember this is that 5 times 2 times 1 equals 10. And then the last number of the common pathway is 13. And they say that 13-year-olds don't really fit the mold anywhere. They just kind of stick out. So that's how I remember this one. It doesn't fit anywhere into this mold. Okay, your factor 3 is also written like this. And then the Roman numeral for 7. Roman numeral for 5 is a V. 2 and 1. Okay. So once you have got this cascade down, we need to look at it a little bit more detailed. This is something that you can sort of help you memorize the order of the cascade, but there's also some important things when it comes to testing within the laboratory. There's 2 main tests that are done within the lab for your clotting, and it's an APTT or a PT. The way that I remember which test is going to measure which factors is very simple. I've got a little trick for you. As you can look at the extrinsic pathway here, realize that there's only 2 factors within the extrinsic pathway. And I also noticed that there's only 2 letters in PT. So a PT test is going to measure factors 3 and 7. Next, if you look at the intrinsic pathway, you've got 4 different factors within the intrinsic pathway. There's also 4 letters within a PTTT. That is how I remember those. It is important to remember that the APTT test is going to monitor heparin therapy. Whereas the PT test is going to monitor Coumadin. To kind of put that into a more clinical way, you could tell yourself, if factor 7 is deficient, which is a part of the extrinsic pathway here, if you're deficient in factor 7, you're going to have a prolonged PT, whereas your APTT would be normal. Vice versa of that is if you have a deficiency in either factor 9 or factor 8, 11 or 12 as well, but if you had a factor deficiency of 9 specifically, you would have a prolonged APTT, whereas you would have a normal PT test. If you had a deficiency in factor 5 down here, you would have a if you had a factor 5 deficiency, you would have a prolonged PT and a prolonged APTT, because again, this is a cascade and everything comes together. The common pathway is what is shared between both the intrinsic and the extrinsic pathway. So again, you would have a prolonged APTT and PTT if any of these were deficient. There are a few factors that are highly specified and highly studied, and that is factor 9 and factor 8. Your factor 9, if you are deficient in factor 9, this is called hemophilia B. If you are deficient in factor 8, this is hemophilia A. If you have hemophilia B, they will treat you by giving you factor 9. If you have hemophilia A, they will give you treatments with factor 8. I hope that this is something that kind of condenses all of the complex information that you have received on the Cascade. This is something that if you can just, memorize the 12, 11, 9, 8, this is something that you can put down. You can information dump this when you've got your exam, right? Let this be the first thing that you write down and then fill in the blanks as you go. Let me know if you've got questions.